Again, so in the previous video, I show you how this is the basic architecture of a two-tier client server for web development with static files. Statics, I wish I could know how to write static static files architecture. And then basically what's happening is that the client is requesting things and the server is going to be very lightweight. And the only thing it does is that if it finds a file, then it's going to return it. And that's what we have been doing like in the first part of the class. Okay. Now we want to get like go one step forward. Okay. And then basically what we want to do is to start thinking on having like a little bit of more things happening in the on the other side, on the server side. So for this case, in this case, I'm going to still stay with a two-tier architecture, but now we are going to have like a backend, okay? And this can be called like a feature server or something like that. And this is actually what is going to be doing running using Node and Express. Okay, so in this case, what is going to change is that we are going to have like a slightly larger server. And then, of course, this is going to mess all of these things in here. So hopefully we can keep this one working. And then this is going to be something here. And then we can say this is going to be there. And will that include? But probably I can do. Ooh, that's going to be nasty. There we go. And then I suffer just selecting that thing. Come on, bear with me. There we go. And then I can move. Let's go and put this one in here. So we are still going to have. I'm going to cry. There we go. So we are still going to have our static files, okay? But this is not going to be HTTP server anymore. Instead, we are going to be having Express. And remember, whenever we have these circles, what I'm trying to um, convey with that is that we are going to be running some code. So this is actually running Node, which at the end of the day is just JavaScript, okay? So this server, it's also going to be like a little bit more beefier, if that's even a word. Okay, this is going to be a little bit bigger in the sense that now this server, we are going to have it in here. And then the server is going to be receiving the same requests that we had before. Okay. And then for the first part, it's going to be the same. So it's going to get the request for the slash, and then it's going to say, oh, yeah, you know what? I can give you the index HTML. It will return that. Then it will do the logo, and then it will return the logo. You say, get me the JavaScript file, and it will return the JavaScript file. That one is very important. The JavaScript, that JavaScript file will still be executed down here. But when it will change is that on the third or the fourth element, if I can get rid of this one, there we go. Will that delete that? And then I'm going to cry. What about that? I think that made the trick. Oops, almost. Oh, what? Link? What do you mean link? Uh, can delete this. Let me try to get that. I promise I will get it. There's something selected in there. That will that get it? Uh, ooh, uh, cannot believe this. Oops. Let me get here. Then okay. So I like what I see there. Yes, almost there. And then with that, phew, finally. So basically, oh, almost there. There's still like something selected in there. Yes. So can I do that and then do this? Yes, finally. And then do that and then group it. Okay, finally. So basically what I'm saying is that before this listings file was just a JSON file. But when we have Express, what the main difference that is going to happen with Express is that apart from having the static files that we have in here, we are also going to have another set of JavaScript things that we are going to call routes. And then let's do those with a square as well in here. And these are going to be my routes, if I can get in there. These are going to be my routes or endpoints. That's another way of calling that. And then let's make this a little bit bigger, and then let's put that on the top. And then each one of those routes are going to be little pieces of JavaScript. And I show you that in one of the previous videos as well. And each one of those routes is going to have like a specific name or a specific endpoint there. So in this case, I can go and say it's going to be API/listings. Okay. This is very important that you remember this. Whenever you create the names for these things, try to make sure that they don't collide with the names of the things that you have or the elements or the resources that you have on your static folder. So it is very important. Because of that, I'm actually going to start everything on /API and then those listings, and then you go and put whatever resource you have in there. Usually for that, you want to start creating like REST APIs, and you can find more about that here on MDN as usual, which is going to explain like how to do all of those things in there. It's an interesting one. Oh, interesting. Didn't know they had all of that. Okay, so take a look at that as well. Okay, so in any case, we are going to have the route. So now instead of doing get.listings.json, okay, I'm going to say get.api.listings, okay, and when I send that in there, what the server is going to say is, do I have a static file that is named like that? I only have the index, the log, and the main. So I don't. So the next thing it does is, do I have a route with that URL? Oh yeah, I do have that route. And then this is going to be some JavaScript code. Remember when we're using these circles, these are going to be pieces of code. And in that code, I'm going to do something that generates the listings. Okay. And this is where it actually is going to become for the what we do in the second project, which is a 3-tier architecture where I have like a full stack. This is what we call like a full stack application, and it's going to be like Node using Expres on one side, okay, plus like a static front end with ES6 and modern standards for JavaScript. And we are going to find a final one, which is going to be our database, which is going to be Mongo. Okay. So usually Mongo, we use cylinders in there, but I don't want to spend a lot of time fighting with that. So let's do it like this. I apologize for my lack of skills in what will happen if oh, maybe I can do this. Yeah, that kind of works. So basically, this is going to be my database. Can I? And then now I cannot write in there. Okay, so this is going to be my Mongo database, which is going to be the space in which I go and put my resources. Let's make that a little bit bigger. And then what is going to happen is that this route in here is going to be the one that makes a query. Okay. And we are going to be making a query directly from there to here. And in this case, we are not going to be using the HTTP server, HTTP protocol anymore. Instead, what this one is going to be doing is that it is going to be using specifically for this is the Node.js Mongo driver. Okay, and in that one is going to be running a query, and that query can be run on MQL or what is the other one that they have? It's not this schema. I'm forgetting right now. The second one is the pipeline. What is the name of the pipeline for Mongo? Uh, Mongo types of queries. And then this is something very important that I want you to remember from the class. No, it's not specifically that. It's MQL. And this is directly from there. And no, it's not crude. You're lying, Gemini. It's not that. This is coming directly from, this is the MQL, and then the other one is the aggregation. I think it's the aggregation pipeline. I think it's how they call it. Yes, so one of the things I was saying is that in this class, it is very important for me than more than just memorizing things or learning everything in here. to the dot is to be able to find information because these type of things change all the time. So that is coming directly from there. I'm going to try to check on the resources I have for that, and then come back to you for that. For the moment, let's go and say only with the MQL. And by the way, that MQL programming language is going to be, I think it's called the aggregation pipeline, is going to be like a JSON query. Okay, but we are going to see more of that later. For the moment, the thing is that once you get that resource, then if the data it's in there, then basically what you're going to get in here, it's a JSON file, okay, or a JSON query, and or a JSON output, which usually is going to be like an array. And that JSON thing is what is going to be returned in here, and then you finish that in there. And that gives you like the three layers. The interesting thing about this is that each one of these elements can be running on its own different machine, and you're going to need to have to control each one of those. The other one that is also very important is that you're going to be running JavaScript in the client, and that is in the browser. You're going to be running JavaScript in the server, in the backend, and that is going to be Node and Express. And you're also going to be running JavaScript on Mongo. So that's why I um, I encourage you all to learn JavaScript because it's kind of like the most efficient language that you can use for full stack development. The other thing I can tell you right now is that all of these, remember, it's completely front side rendered. Okay, so there are sort of things that are called server side rendered. Um, that are actually quite interesting. And when you try to use it with React, it's kind of like the new standard that we're coming full circle because it is the way that we used to do things in the 70s and in old development with CGI or something like that. I think I'm going to give you another class for that. And also for the third project, we are going to be replacing this part that is having like the static server, like the static server with all of our things in there. We are going to be replacing that with React.